Hey guys, I wanted to show you something I've been working on lately. Something really simple that I think maybe race directors or just FPV racers going to big events may want to work on and have for themselves. This is essentially a broadcast box that has a monitor inside. It has a HDZero VRX, event VRX device, so you can have 4 video feeds straight out of the bat without doing too much work. The box itself, it's called a CTEC ATM 16, so it's essentially a broadcast monitor with 4 HDMI inputs, 4 HDMI outputs. Super simple. You can get them off Amazon for about $800 Canadian, and I'll show you everything about it. So the box itself is pretty simple. It's very robust. It is quite heavy, but not too heavy. It has some ledges on the side to open the front side. So this comes off, I'll show you. And then also the back, this can open up and you can have access to the back, which gives us a lot of space to store not only the VRX, but all the devices and cables and everything. So let's start from the front side first. So very simple. Twist that off, I pull it off. Something here. So the lead comes off, right? So now you have the monitor. So the monitor is super simple. You can toggle between all 4 HDMIs individually, or you can have also all 4 little screens, which I'll show you. And there's a power on off switch, okay? So if we look at the back, which is where the interesting part is, so I have a lot of accessories. So here you see the HDMI, the HDZero Event VRX. It's mounted to the back lead. So this comes off. Super easy to assemble. You just need to kind of measure, you know, where to put your holes and screws. So I'm using some M4s with some nuts on the sides here. So it's pretty straightforward. I measure it so it doesn't hit the sides of the opening, so it just fits right on. And of course, as for the HDMI cables, you have to tuck them in. You can also get some I'm not using some 90 degrees. I should eventually I might upgrade to those. Right now I'm using some pretty generic HDMI. Doesn't need to be super high quality. 4K is enough. So if you see here, let me open it up. So if you see here, essentially what's going on is that every HDMI is going to the HDMI inputs of the monitor. The cool thing about this is that you could also have some HDMI outs. So if you want to port into a bigger device, you could also use this. What's cool is the HDMI splitter is built into the monitor, so you don't need a separate device to do the DVR and everything, right? So I modded this box a little bit. What I wanted to do is to have all the cables, all the adapters, everything inside. So I added a C414 adapter on the side. It took some work, but it was definitely worth it. So that way, not only it's much cleaner, but you know, so C14, sorry, and I printed this little cap that I designed, so it covers it from dust or water or anything. So that C14 is connected to an adapter. So the monitor comes with a an adapter of 12 volts, 3 amps, I believe. I found that wasn't enough, especially if I'm splitting that power to power both devices, the monitor and the VRX. So I switched to a 5 amps instead, so 12 volt 5 amps. What I'm doing then is I'm using splitter, so straight from straight from the adapter here. Let me pull that off real quick. Straight from the adapter, I'm using a 5.5 millimeters barrel connector splitter. So you see here, one connection, two outs. That way I can plug this into the VRX, and the other one goes to the monitor, right? So it's cleaner, less cables. All these cables are a bit too long, but you know, once you tuck them in, it's not too bad. Let's put some antennas on. So you can't, the way I've set it up, you can't really have the antennas right now sticking out of the box, but I've been thinking of maybe routing some SMAs to outside of the box, just so you know it can be more exposed. Let's plug this in. So I'll just have this PSU extension real quick here. Let's remove the cap again. So I've modded also the VRX. I wanted to have a switch just to be safe and to have a control over. So right now this is not going to power on because this is here loose, and I need to power this on. Okay, so VRX powering on, and now let's power on the monitor. Let's maybe power on a drone as well, so we can actually see that it works. I just find that it takes some time sometimes to get that signal, but here it is. Here we have the video of the drone, right? I can also switch to individual HDMI inputs. So if I want to go full screen, but in this case, I'm really more interested on seeing the full race. So let's do here, exit. And display, we're gonna go and pick 4P. So we got our 4 individual feeds again. Okay, let me power that off. Another little upgrade that I did is that sometimes you might be at an event, you don't really have access to power. So let's plug this out. It can also be powered with a battery. So this is a V-mount battery I got off Amazon. I'm gonna put some links in the description. So it's a pretty cool battery. These are not cheap. This one, I think it was $200 Canadian on Amazon. There's definitely cheaper ones, but I was really interested on the different outputs. You got a couple USB outputs, especially you get a D-tap output, which I found really interesting because now I can plug this in, which this is going to power the monitor. All that system was already built in on the monitor, right? But I have this D-tap to barrel connector, so I can just do a D-tap here. I remove the barrel from the VRX and I plug it in here. So essentially now I'm getting the power of the battery for the VRX and I can power the monitor. So it's a standalone unit right now, no power needed. The battery lasts for about maybe 2 hours. It's a 18,000 milliamps, I believe, on 12 volts. I think it can do a bit higher, and I think the max draw is 13 amps. So it's pretty consistent. It works pretty well. I might have a second battery as a backup, but it's a good alternative if you don't have the power input, right? So yeah, that kind of summarizes it. I hope you find this useful. I'm gonna put some links in the description so you can maybe build your own, or if you have more ideas, feel free to let me know. And maybe the last upgrade that I did, it's not much of an upgrade, is I added some anti-slip pads at the bottom, because especially on the flat surface, it was very slippery, but now with the anti-slippering pads, it just stays put, which is great. So, you know, nothing's moving while you're watching the races. All right, thanks for watching.